purpose of this video is to demonstrate the Modern Language Association's format for writing. We will be discussing margins, font, spacing, headings, titles, quotations, and visuals, and works cited. First thing that we're going to talk about is the font. We want to choose the Times New Roman font in the size of 12. So you would go over to your Format button, click on Font, choose the Times New Roman in the regular font style, and then you would choose 12 as the font size. Also, in writing your paper, MLA requires that your margins be 1 inch on all sides. That means the top, the bottom, the left, and the right margins need to be set at 1 inch. You can accomplish this by going to the View tab button. You would click on the View, scroll down to Ruler, and then that will give you a sliding scale, and you can slide the scale to 1 inch. The next thing that MLA requires is that all your paragraphs that are included in your paper need to be indented 1/2 inch from the left margin. So you would find your Format button, choose the selection for tabs, set the default tab stop at 0.5 inches, which is a half an inch, and that's what's required for each paragraph in your paper, and click OK. When writing your paper, remember that all text should be double spaced. That includes the heading, the title, and each paragraph. So you could come over and find your line spacing icon, scroll down to 2, and that'll set your space between all your text at 2. Next, you need to create a header in the upper right corner of your paper. It'll be a 1/2 inch below the top of each page, and it contains the person that's writing the paper's last name and an Arabic number, and this is to indicate the progress of your paper. So once again, you would find your View tab, scroll down to the header and footer. It gives you the option to type in what you need to type in, and you would type in your last name. And then in the auto text, you would insert the page number. It gives you a couple different options, but you would just want to put in the page number. Come over and highlight it, your name with the page number. And once again, the reason you're doing that is because that header needs to be in the font of Arabic. So you would go back to your Format button, choose Font, Arabic typesetting, and once again you're going to choose the regular font style in the size of 12. On the first page in the upper left corner, put your teacher's name, put your name first, your teacher's name, your class, and finally the date. The date most likely will need to be formatted with the day first, then your month, and then followed by your year. Once again, remember that everything's double spaced. After your name and other information is listed, double space and center the title. And here you can see, I put an example of how you need to format your name, your teacher's name, your class, and the date. You can see that the day's first, then the month, and then the year. And after you've entered all that text, then you'll come down and you want to center your title. And you would just highlight your title, and you'll have a center button that'll highlight. And then you can go up and also italicize it. Your title needs to be italicized, or it can be in quotations. Here I've shown you how I have the header, and then you can see that the title is in is placed in italics, and then you can see where I'm starting the first paragraph of my paper and it's indented the 1/2 inch. That's required by MLA. Make sure that the title, after the title, there's a double space between the title and the text, then indent at the beginning of the first paragraph. You can begin writing at this point. Your paper needs to contain an introduction, which this will have your thesis. And your thesis was the main point of your paper, but leading up to your thesis would be the background for your thesis. And then the body of your paper would contain however many paragraphs for each point that you are making in your introduction, and then of course your conclusion. When you begin writing, remember the only time you capitalize the first word after a semicolon is if you have a complete sentence and a direct quote. If a quotation is more than 3 lines, indent all the quote 1 inch from the left margin. Quotation marks are not needed, but all the lines must be double spaced. You can also insert graphs or pictures in your paper, but if you do, each one needs to be labeled, and you also have to use Arabic numerals when you're identifying the graphs or the pictures. You don't have to italicize or use quotation marks when you are labeling the graphs. You should make sure that your graph or your picture is flush with the left margin and followed by the source information. When writing your paper, remember that you have to have your in-text citations. The source information should be cited after a quote or a paraphrase. Anything cited after a source should be, most importantly, be included in the work cited. For example, you could do human beings have been described by Kenneth Burke as symbol using animals. Then you would insert your page number in a 3. If the author is known, you only have to put the page number in parentheses after the sentence similar to the one I just showed you above with the Kenneth Burke example. If the author is known, when you place it, you need to put the author's name and the page number in parentheses. The reason that you need your in-text citations is you don't want to be classified as you're having plagiarism in your paper. Any quote that you use from someone other than yourself needs to be cited. And here I've shown you an example. Also, you want to, in your paper, you want to, when you're citing a work, you want to give the person some important information about the person that you're citing, and then the cite, whatever the quote would be in quotation marks, and you can see the example that I've supplied here for you. In MLA formatting a paper, you need to place on a whole different sheet of paper. It doesn't need to bump up against next to your paper. It needs to be on a separate sheet of paper. The works cited page should be labeled like all the other parts of the paper, and you can see here that the works cited page has my header. It has the works cited centered, and then it starts with the author of the book or whatever at the left-hand margin, and then each sentence after that, or information after that, would be indented. The work cited needs to be in alphabetical order by your author or by the works that you're using. Also remember that the cited works needs to be double spaced. EasyBib is a good website to use for setting up a works cited page. We have some questions that I can help you make sure that you got something good out of my video here. What size font should be included in the paper? The answer to that would be 12. What's the one thing that must be done to the title of a work in a paper? And you would need to italicize or place your title in quotation marks. What should be done on every page between the text? And that would be double space. How does one avoid plagiarism? You would avoid plagiarism by putting your quotes, your source quotes in quotation marks, and then also making sure that you supply it on your works cited page. If you need more help with writing an MLA paper, Al Purdue is an excellent source for more information concerning the format, the works cited, and other important things needed when writing the paper. EasyBib is also a good website to use for works cited information and helping create the works cited page. And you can see here that I've included the sites for this information. Thank you.